So this right here is what we're going to be making today, and all of the actual details on here and stuff we're going to be doing in a different video. So I'm going to have a full video on all of the detailing that you see I've written out here, but for right now I'm going to be showing you how to just simply cover your cakes with fondant, and I'm going to really be talking about how I plan my cakes and how I plan my display cakes. So this particular cake is going to be for my niece, and I just went out and I picked up all of these supplies today. The cake is for tomorrow. Of course, I do this to myself, but I just started going on spring break, so I am like so ready for this. These styrofoam tiers, so I'll show you them here. So firstly, you want to make sure that whenever you're making a display cake, you get a super solid board. Now this is more than just a cake board, this is a cake drum. So it's very thick, and there is a difference to that. And when you go and look up these products online or when you're gonna go buy them, a cake drum is different. And this one here is $8.30 for a 14-inch. I love these, they're so nice and smooth. One thing that I'm not a super fan of is that the white is very blue. So I find when I go for other fondants that are very white and I'm doing a wedding cake, I still need to cover this board because it does show up quite white. And we will cover this board later on, but not until we're fully done covering everything else. And then I've got a 12-inch styrofoam round. All of these are 4 inches high, by the way, and then I have a 10-inch, and I actually have 2 8-inches here. And what I'm gonna do, and I'll raise this a little bit. So just like this, and I'm gonna stack them together like this. And then I'm gonna put my 6-inch here. And then I'm also going to make a real cake on top. So whenever I am doing a cake like this, I always try to make sure that I have one real tier. Obviously, you know, it's pretty hard to think that anybody's gonna eat this much cake. Like this much cake would honestly feed like hundreds of people. So I always go fake when I want to have a beautiful cake, but I'm not actually eating that much. So I'm going to start by just peeling all of these off. And this store is great. I get it from Scoop and Save, and that's a local store here. And I think Scoop and Save also custom cuts a lot of shapes too. So if you wanted to do a custom cut, they can do that as well. And I have tried carving styrofoam before, and it's very hard. So those custom cuts are worth it if that's something that you're looking for. Okay, so I'm gonna first start off with the 12-inch. I always like to start off with that. You really don't have to because you could just cut whatever ones you want. But I like to start with this one. I'm gonna hot glue it directly onto here. Hot glue is your friend during this whole process. Oh, I got a lot of comments. I'm just gonna read those quickly. Hello, Miss Video Time. Oh, I'm so glad you're finding it helpful. If you do it on the fake cake, are you going to do it all over again on the real cake? So I'm going to do it on here, and that is going to be the cake. And then I'm also going to put all the details on the fake cake. Hello to everybody. How much do you charge for a display cake? Interestingly, if there's not a whole lot of structural differences, I charge pretty much the same as I do with real cake, but maybe a few dollars more for the real. Because these tiers are actually the styrofoam is expensive as well. So I'm gonna place it on like that. I'm gonna have everything fully centered. So I'm going to plug in my hot glue gun. And what I love about fake cakes is you can literally use your hot glue gun for everything. So you don't have to waste as much of your edible products on this. Of course, we are going to be using fondant and we're going to be using mostly edible detailing. But you don't have to if you're in a pinch. So as that's heating up, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about this cake. So this is going to be oh yeah, people buy fake cakes all the time actually, because a lot of people want that beautiful over the top look, but they don't necessarily need that much cake. So this is actually going to be a princess cake, and I've bought all these little figurines, and you can kind of see them in the corner there. The reason that I bought figurines, normally I would make these completely out of fondant. That is so me, but this cake is for my niece, and my sister said that she really, really does not like it if the princesses don't look exactly, and I tend to like to make my characters either look a little bit cute and then add on the details to make it look like those princesses. So I figured, why don't I save myself the 8 hours it would take to make all those figures and just buy them. So instead, I'm going to make different tiers for each one. So my bottom tier is going to be my Aladdin tier, and then my Brave tier, Tangled, Little Mermaid, and then Beauty Beast at the top, Beauty and the Beast at the top. So if I were stacking real layers of cake, that's a different story. But because we're doing fake, we don't really need to have too much support. But you would need actual supports in your cake. Sorry guys, my cord is a little bit short, so I'm literally just going to hot glue this directly on. I remember the first time I made a fake cake, it was really, really nerve-wracking. Because I felt like, oh, once the glue's down, I can't redo it. But don't worry, if you make a mistake, you can always redo. No big deal. Okay, so there I've got my hot glue. And I'm going to stick this down fairly centered. Perfect. I've left a little bit of more of a lip here. And that's just if I want to add in a bit more detailing. Now I am going to offset some of these layers because I need to be able to fit the figurines in. But I don't have to do too much. Okay, so we're firstly going to cover this layer now. Yeah, cakes and, dowels and shirts to perfect. Okay, so my bottom layer here, I said I was going to make it purple. So we're going to do some purple. And this is also a great time to like use up all of that maybe older fondant that you feel like is a little bit too far gone. Now I am probably going to do a little bit of purple in here, and if I don't like how dark it is, I have some airbrush too that I'm going to airbrush on. Hi, Maddie. What do you use for a realistic frosting look? Okay, so if I were to do frosting on this, I would do shortening on there, mixed with icing sugar. Or, I feel like when we used to do display cakes at the bakery, we would use actual American buttercream. And then, like, especially the old stuff that was like really far gone already, and then we would just keep it hard, and it would just harden up like no end. You can also do it with royal icing too. Totally up to you. I just got a new bucket of fondant. These things are so hard to open. Okay. How much would this cake cost? Really hard to say. I definitely, it would be in the in really close to that 1,000 range, but I'll have to tell you what the pricing would be at the very end because I don't know all of the details that I'm going to put on here. That's the thing with my sketches, like they're pretty close to what I want in my head, but then realistically that doesn't always happen. Now I will suggest that if you're just starting out, and I still do this now, my friend laughs at me when I do this, but I always go like over and above with how much fondant I think is going to cover this, because that's a pretty big tier, and the worst is when you don't have enough to cover it. I apologize, my friends, if I'm not answering your questions as quickly, but as we know, fondant is time sensitive, so if we take a break, then we can end up with some issues. This fondant is satin ice. For display cakes, like if it's made out of fondant, you can honestly keep it forever. The only thing that's going to happen is that it is going to fade with time. So I always found that like our display cakes that have purples in them, they go very blue after a while. Or like our pink ones go very, very, very pale pink, almost to white, especially if there's sunlight hitting your display cakes. So, and you know what, you get sick of your display cakes too, so you change them over. What would it cost for a real cake? Again, because this is going to have some, the structure is very easy, right? Like the structuring is just kind of stacked. So it might be like a little bit more. When I do the actual video for the decoration, I'll be sure to include how much I charge for, how much I would charge for a display cake version, and then how much I would charge for the real cake version. That way we'll be super, super clear with that answer. Do you eat fondant? Truthfully, guys, I think fondant is very gross, if I'm being honest. The taste is just not my favorite. The reason that I always go to it is because I love working with it. I think I'm just going to leave this white and I'm going to airbrush because it's going to take me a really long time to make that purple. And I like the idea that it's adding decor and keeping things food safe. But again, I haven't eaten fondant in a really, really long time. It's got to be at least a decade, I think, since I've last actually eaten fondant. Okay, so before I roll this out, I'm going to cover it with a little bit of water. And be generous with the water. I always find I never put enough on. One little tip I will give you is because we are touching things that like this isn't really food safe, I would say, this styrofoam. So just make sure whatever leftover fondant you have, you don't just put it with all the fondant that you're going to be using in the future. Again, for actual cakes, keep it separate because you don't want all of that touching. I always find this process just takes me forever to cover these tiers. Okay. So that it'll stick. Because the fondant will not stick if I don't put water. You could do shortening too. The great thing about baked cakes too is you can go nice and thin with everything because your layers underneath are already perfect. It is so warm today. That I'm actually kind of sweaty. And by warm, I literally mean like, I think it's maybe 12 degrees Celsius outside right now, but for me that's warm, especially because it's been raining and all that. Satin ice for the fondant. I have used Wilton too. And what was the other brand? I think it's Renshaw it's called. I've used that as well. All of them have like their different merits, but I just find that if you want to do one-stop shop and you don't want to have all these different fondants, satin ice works really well with both figures, flowers, and it covers cakes really beautifully too. Of course, everybody likes to work with something different, but actually most of the cake groups that I'm a part of, they all seem to like satin ice as well, for the most part. Sometimes I like to go in with a fondant smoother and just smooth it out just a little bit because I'm using, and I've been using this thing for so many years, but it does create those lines. So if you're just investing in a rolling pin, I would definitely get one of the ones that doesn't have the squared off edges. Oh. Didn't pull it up. No. The first time you cover a cake is very intimidating, and then after that, it's like nothing. So you really want to make sure you're going down the sides here and pressing it in. I can already tell my water has dried up a little bit, probably because it took me forever to roll that out. So, but if that happens, what we're going to do is we're just going to cut off that excess. It's really about getting this pushed in as much as we can. Even adhering it to the board just a bit. Okay. Then I like to take this thing, I don't know what this thing is called, a pastry cutter, and just cut along the edge. We're going to smooth out these problems that I'm seeing. Instead of a fondant smoother. Whoa. I don't know. Anybody else got an option for that? The reason the fondant smoother works so well is because you can really get in there nice and flat. Okay, now I've got lumps and bumps everywhere, so I'm going to take this fondant smoother, push it all the way around. And I'm going to be putting on so much detail to these. Now, if I were doing this just no detail whatsoever, I'd be very, very careful about the way that I place these things on. So I'm just going to read some of the things you guys have written here. What can you use instead of beginning folds when I tried to do that? Can you refrigerate the cake after that? Okay, well this is a display cake, so I'm definitely not going to refrigerate it. But if this were a real cake, for sure, you can refrigerate your fondant. You just have to make sure that the temperature, the humidity in your refrigerator is very, very low. Sometimes I've dealt with fridges that have kind of high humidity, and then you end up with this water kind of film all over your cake, which you don't want. Just getting out these things. If you guys get air bubbles, just make sure to take a little pin and poke it. Get rid of it. And as long as you have kind of one perfect side with your display cake, you're good to go. Okay. I really want to get these edges. Sorry, I forgot to answer the fold question. So do you need fold when you're trying to flatten the fondant on the side? Because if so, I will show you again a little slower how I'm going to do the next one to avoid that. So I'm really going on the edge here, really trying to create that edge. Fondant is very, very moldable. It's not as delicate as we think it is. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to airbrush it later. Okay, now we're going to go on to the next tier. I always find it's trickier when you don't have a cake board underneath. Okay, gotta look back on my notes to see what color I said I was gonna make this one. Okay, so I'm gonna try to use Fondant, which I've never used in my whole entire life. So we will see how this works. Okay, I'm gonna go with a little bit more fondant. It's all about, it's kind of like when you're laying, I want to say it's almost like you're trying to straighten out a tablecloth when we do this. I'll show you how to do it. This is something that I really struggled with too. I used to get little creases on the very tips. Sometimes I still do. Okay. So with this, we're going to add in this fondant dust. If I could just find where it is. So this is it, and it's by Roxy and Reg. And you can pretty much mix this in with any medium, like gum paste. What does it say you can use this on? Open jar over a plate or a bowl and knead it in a bowl. Okay, I'm really glad that I read that because these stain super, super easily. Be a little bit of a pain doing it in here, but we will see. Let's see if I recommend this product. This whole bucket of fondant was $114, I want to say. Now this is supposed to be teal. We shall see. Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Oh, I love this color. It's gorgeous. Very Merida. So this cake is going to go to my niece. So I will give it to her. And my sister can do whatever she wants with it. We're going to make a big, we were just given the go-ahead where I live to be able to gather with people outdoors in groups of 10. So we are going to do a little party display setup. It literally is just me and my sister and our family. Yeah, the color is just gorgeous. Gonna add a little bit more because I need this to be a bit darker. My hand is very green. I was never trained with using gloves, so it's like something I never had on hand, but I really should because every time when I go teaching, I have a different color hand every day, and then my students think that I've been drawing on my hand, so. Okay. We're getting places. The kneading and the making the fun is the worst, for sure. Yeah, I'm a music teacher. And we are doing a big musical after spring break. And I really wanted to do a gingerbread making contest club and submit it to the local contest this year at our school, but unfortunately, of course, with the current situation, no, none of that allowed. So hopefully next year we'll be able to do that. We've got some really great mountains around here where they do huge contests. And I've always wanted to submit one done by a school because that's so fun. We're not quite at Merida Green, but you know what? Good enough, I say. I can always airbrush this further if I see fit. Oh, thank you, Meg. Oh, Meg, you're a teacher too? Hi, Jessica. Nice to see you. I love it when I see my subscribers that I see commenting all the time, but it's nice to be able to answer questions and do things on the fly. Okay, I'm very sweaty, very tired from that. Okay, now we're going to cover the next one. The next one is going to be trickier because when you're covering without a board, I just find it's harder for things to adhere properly, but we are going to do our best here. I'm going to actually probably paint this after with the water because I found that it dried up so fast. I am doing well. No, I don't make my own fun. I know how to, but I just find it takes so long. It does taste better, like my other subscribers have mentioned, but it does take a little while longer. Just washing my hands here, guys. So I do like the fondant, but I do wish that it was slightly more concentrated, just slightly, because if you're doing the darker colors, it takes a lot to knead it in, obviously. All right, let's go in with a little bit of cornstarch. Oh, yeah, I think maybe fondant is very available where I am, but if you don't have that available, that could be a problem. Okay, let's roll this out. Oh, this one is so pretty. This one actually really goes with parts of my Aladdin tier that I want to do, so this is going to be great. Oh, I'm filming off of my phone, and then I am watching off of my laptop. I'm looking into getting a camera. I'm thinking about getting a Sony, but I've been very, very busy. I think I only have, what day is it today? I think about 5 more days of daily uploads, and then going down to a more manageable schedule. Although I really got to say that the uploading daily was definitely difficult some days, but very, very easy on other days. I'm not sure how you start a live from a camera. I'm sure it's possible. I don't know if your camera has Wi-Fi. Okay, let's get rid of this. See, and then we get the shifting as well. That's why I do like this turntable, because I find it just does the job of holding things really well. I think our next tier is going to be pink. That's what I wrote down, I think. Now, a lot of people will put the rolling pin underneath and do it that way. I clearly am not. Now, see here, if you find that you have a little gap here, what you can do, take your rolling pin and create that thinness on the top, which is fine. You don't need it to be super thick. And bring it down. And see, now we're nearly down to the bottom there. Nice, honey? Honey, the princesses are not out of the box yet. Gotta wait. My daughter is very eager to get the princess figures that I got for the cake out.
One's not sparkly, actually, Mommy.
Which one's not sparkly?
That Pocahontas one.
Oh, she isn't. You're right. That's one of the ones you can have, though.
Only one?
I said one of the ones, honey.
But I want two.
Well, most of them are going to be for Mia.
But I like Cinderella and Princess Aurora too. Can I have those two?
We'll see, baby.
And I also like Belle.
Everybody on YouTube can see you. Say hi. They can't actually see you, but they can hear you.
Hi.
Okay, so as I'm doing this, so see here, to avoid the creasing, I pull out a little bit and then I put it down. So you just gotta pull out that edge a little bit. And you always wanna try and cut off everything as soon as possible so that you don't drag. You can do this with an X-Acto knife too. I just find it easy to do it with this.
What is that?
What is what, honey?
What is that?
This tier?
Yeah.
This one's gonna be the braid tier. Do you remember watching that movie?
What's the braid tier? Which character is the braid tier, Mom?
There, right there.
And then what's the top one? What's the very top one gonna be?
Tippy top, that's gonna be Beauty and the Beast. And who's the princess in Beauty and the Beast?
But why, Mommy, when you can have Elsa? Because Elsa lives in the mountains and they're really tall and that's really tall. Oh, I forgot there's no Elsa. Right?
Yes, honey, you're right.
And there's no Elsa, I forgot.
Yes, the foam cake is going to be for display only.
But wait, Mommy, there's no Beast.
I know, honey. And but the top tier that I'm gonna make is going to be real, which is going to be what the birthday girl is gonna cut into.
She's gonna cut, but she's way too small, Mom. That's gonna be dangerous. The birthday girl? Mia.
Yes, honey, you're right. Okay, I'm actually going to take this off here because, as you can see, I'm having problems because it's indenting in here.
And Mommy, I don't really like unsparkly characters, actually.
I understand. Okay, so I'm actually just going to finish cutting that properly right down here because I'm getting all of that stuff.
Mommy, I love your cake you're making.
Thank you, honey.
And Mommy, what's the middle scene gonna be?
That one is going to be Rapunzel, tangled.
Tangled. Okay, but Mommy, how is the middle gonna work? Because then we'll smush the dolls.
Nope, I'll show everybody how to do that without smushing the dolls.
You just snap the dolls like that and then the cake. You snap it to the cake and then it's done.
Okay, I'm just going to put a little board down to make this easier on me.
Mommy, but where's the Cinderella gonna be? Because Belle and Cinderella both go to the ball.
She does not want Cinderella on her cake.
Oh, then I can keep it. Right?
Yes.
Does she want Princess Aurora on her cake?
I don't think so.
Well, then I can keep it.
So with this tier here, it's pretty good. Have a little bit of imperfection here and there. I can even that out a little bit more once I actually stack it together. And then I'm just going to take this off. Now, as you can see, the bottoms are a little rough. I'm not going to be too picky. It's all going to get covered.
Mommy, Mia really loves Snow White. We better put on the cake.
Okay, honey, can you go and do your activity so that I can keep talking to the YouTube people?
But I want to talk too.
I'll call you up when we're almost done, okay?
Oh, I'll just lay my bed.
What time is it here? It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, we're gonna cover this up And what I will say about the Fondant is that it doesn't give your fondant a sticky, like anything. There's no sticky residue at all. Whereas when you color it with gel, you end up with it super, super sticky. So this is great. A little tip about repackaging your fondant. So this is fine for short term if I leave it out covered with the plastic wrap. But when I have the plastic wrap and just that, it's going to dry up like within a couple days. So you do want to make sure that you cover it with plastic wrap and then you also put it back into your fondant bucket. It is really bothering me how this is everywhere though. My apologies. That is the downside about something with grooves in it. It's harder to get clean. Okay. Now, whenever you're switching over with fondants, of course, you want to wash all that away. You don't want any residue in there. So wash all of this, making sure it's pretty clean. You don't have to worry about every single little piece of cornstarch or anything like that. You just want to get it so that there's no more residual color. Oh wow, you're from Ireland. That's pretty cool. I've never been there. Oh, you're having a snowstorm, Jessica. Wow. We barely got any snow this year, like not enough to build one single snowman, which was very disappointing. And I think that the snow is pretty much over. Sometimes it snows on my birthday, which is really odd, but that hasn't happened for a while. Sorry. Just trying to get off all of these little bits here. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm going to do my pink tier, because that is supposed to be, yes, we're going with pink. Normally I don't do so many punchy different colors. I really like to stick with white. Today it's all about bright and beautiful different colors. And we're going to cut some off. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to hot glue my tiers together. 2 to 4 days for a snowstorm, that's incredible. And are the kids on spring break right now where you live, or is it the schools are open? Just hot gluing these two together. Oh wow. For us, whenever it snows here, like just a foot or so, we shut down. Even though we're in Canada and we're supposed to be like super good with snow, I think we're the province that's like the least good with snow. Okay, so the reason that I glued these together is because I want to create that extra tall tier in the middle. I'm going to grab a cake board this time beforehand. place this on there. Now with an extra towel, of course, you're going to need extra of the fondant. As you can see, I've almost used up half the whole bucket of fondant. So when your customers are like, oh, that's very expensive, this is the exact reason why, because look at how much material we're actually using for this, right? Okay. 3 feet of snow. Oh my goodness. And here I am sweating. And I don't even live in a super warm place. You know, I have a friend in Arizona and she says it's just so hot already. Wonder if this is going to be enough to cover. Hopefully. And if not, you can always improvise. Really important to always cover your fondant. Okay, now I'm going to dye with gel food coloring, which is going to be a lot messier than the Fondust. Really should have picked up some more Fondust, but I wasn't sure how that was going to work. So we are just going to do it with our regular AmeriColor food gel. And it is a whole lot messier with this. So shake it up. I'm not going for super dark here, just in the veins of the pinks and the purples that are in the Rapunzel movie. And the reason that I chose this size of tier is because I want her braid cascading all the way down. I'm really trying hard not to touch the, the color dead on. That's how they kind of get very pink very fast. And don't be alarmed, you guys are probably going to see this dyed pink for a short period. This quartz countertop really picks up the color, which I'm not a fan of. When we purchased this house, they said that the quartz would be just fine with color, but the lie detector just determined that was a lie. That's more. Babe, can you refill that glass and fill it with water? But like ice water. Okay.
It's like burning up here.
Yeah, my So if you were making a display cake and this was for an order and you were using pink and you were doing this more in advance, highly recommend you put it in a dark closet after you have covered it, because any exposure to the sunlight is really going to cause the color to leach out of the fondant.
Holy smokes, is that big enough?
And look at how extra tall it is. Plus I'm going to need it for flowers. We're getting brighter here. Need some water after all this kneading. Okay. Keep going. Oh no. Sorry to hear that the stores have run out of food. In the beginning for us, last year, I'm sure all of us experienced this, but I literally couldn't find toilet paper. And it was hard because that was when my son was really young too, and he needed diapers, and we had to rush out to get more. Okay, that is my workout for the day. Now I'm going to roll this out again. I'm really going to, I think for this tier, I'm going to be a bit smarter. I'm going to put now, like I mentioned, guys, water totally works for this, but I'm going to put shortening on this because I think because it's really warm in here right now, it is, the water is drying incredibly fast. So I'm going to put some shortening on here so that the fondant will stick very easily. Do I like dogs? I'm actually not a huge animal person. I never really grew up with animals. We had a pond in our house under the staircase, and I think that was like the most animal that I ever really, well, I had a pet bunny as well, but I wasn't allowed to have a dog as a kid, and I feel like because I didn't grow up with animals, it made me not love them. It's not that I dislike them, I just don't think I'd be very good at being like a dog mom. Okay. Well, let's do this pink tier. And then after this, I just have one more tiny tier, and that's going to be our yellow one. Okay, now this one is tricky because as soon as you get tall into really tall cakes like this, you really need to make sure that you get it all the way down the sides. By a snapping turtle, oh my god. I'm pretty sure my bunny got eaten for dinner by people because my parents bought it from a farm, and my dad's coworker, or one of my dad's staff members, she had a farm full of bunnies, and they raised them for meat, but they gave me one as a pet, and then it bit me. And, you know, being the 7-year-old responsible child that I was, just gave back the bunny because I didn't like that it bit me. And so I'm pretty sure after that they sold him for meat, or I don't know. I've always thought about, though, getting my daughter and son a pet to teach them about responsibility and empathy and just caring for others. I think that is really a great skill, and I think pets implore that, but it is a lot of work, too. Put a hole in my fondant. You might notice right now that I'm shifting my fondant around. This is to prevent sticking. And I'm going really big with this one because I want it to make it all the way around. of dogs, I actually wanted to make a carved, realistic dog cape. I think that'd be really fun. Okay, now whenever you're covering tall things like this, you have to work fast. So, because if you don't work fast, what's going to end up happening is the fondant is going to drag down, which is why I ordered this with shortening, just to make it extra. And I'm going to go the distance. We're going to add some water too, just in case. Okay. I'm going to try and smooth this down as quickly as I can without it sliding away on me forever. It's funny, like when you're working in a shop together with other people, and then you'll notice that like you're talking and then somebody goes silent, that means they're doing something like really important. Okay, I have a little tearing going on. And that is because I'm not going fast enough. Okay, so let's talk about cake failure right here. This is what happens when you don't move fast enough. So we're going to do it again. And this is the beauty of the fake cake. So what I'm going to do this time to fix that problem, okay, so first I didn't move fast enough. Second, wasn't enough stuff here. So I'm really going to put the shortening in the middle here. Any advice for starting a baking business? Well, I have a lot of videos on how to start that baking business, what are going to be the best approaches to get it going for you. But if there's any particular questions you have, I'd love to answer those. Okay, let's do that again, my friends. Okay. Take two. This happens. You are welcome, Samantha. Yeah, for a long time, my business was only cookies. I was very nervous about cakes. Cakes really intimidated me. But that's the thing with cake. Be fearless. And don't be afraid to play around. How do you set your pricing? Whew, I've done a lot of videos on that too if you want to check it out. My basic tips are just, you gotta make sure that you are covering your expenses first of all, and then your time, and then your skill. And the skill question, I think that's the hardest for everybody. Because everybody, I really feel like, is truly on the inside pretty humble about what they can accomplish. And I feel like one of the biggest things with that is we have to remember that it is a specialized skill. And even if you're not the best of the best, I mean, I think it takes a lot to be the best of the best. You're still doing a lot of labor, and you're still making something that not just the average person can make, nor does the average person have time to make these things and dedicate that time to it. Oh, don't worry, Meg. I get tons of dislikes all the time. It's part of the social media world. Do you guys like the Fat Daddy-O's fondant? I used it once or twice, but that was out of desperation. I didn't really use it in a big way like this. Okay, let's try this again. Really trying to secure it on this top edge this time. Okay. Whenever I'm covering cakes like this, I'm always imagining myself on like the Food Network under a time crunch. I will tell you, I do not miss the days of working under an actual time crunch. So nice being able to go your own pace, do your own thing. Okay, there we go. Lost a little bit. Again, wanting to cut off this excess as quickly as possible. And we're going to fix up these yucky bits. Okay. So she's not the most beautiful right now. That's okay. Sorry. Shortening problems here. Keep in mind, right, we're going to be adding so much detail to this. Cut corners where you can. That's my motto. Oh, let me fix it. Is that better now? Am I unfrozen? I think it's unfrozen now. Sorry, my phone is running low on battery. I'm going to plug it in here in a sec. Okay. We are almost done this tier. I realize the bottom is not as nice, but it is all good. We will cover it up. Okay. Next one here. Last one. We are going to go with yellow. I'm going to put this together. Okay. I love how I have so many subscribers that are young people that want to start their own bakeries. That's fantastic. I think I had that kind of drive and motivation when I was young, when I was in my teens, but I was just so busy. All right, gonna cover this up. And again, we're gonna wipe this area down because we don't want any of the pink going into the yellow. Wiping this all down. Okay. I know it's not perfect, but it'll do for now. Let's do our final cake here. Sorry guys, just needed a little water. Okay, and then I'm gonna do this. Totally. Takes just as long, really. And I underestimated every time to myself. Like, when I thought about doing this tutorial, I was like, oh, it's just gonna, we're gonna quickly cover those tiers, but it's the moving the fondant around and coloring the fondant. So if you are making cakes on a really big scale, like I think when I was working at an actual bakery, I think I would say around maybe 8 to 10 cakes in a week. And so we had all the colored fondants. Okay. That should be enough to cover that 6 inch. Okay. Oh, that's so sweet, Jessica. Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't been like very consistent about when exactly the time that I actually upload. Sometimes I get home from a day of teaching and then I will start filming and coming up with everything at that point. Oh, I'm getting some pink in here. I'm gonna wash my hands again. But since the daily uploads are going to halt, it definitely is a lot of fondant. Sorry guys, just washing all the pink off. Couldn't get it all off the first time. Okay. So yeah, sometimes I would come home and that's when I would start, I would think about the idea like in advance. Like I always have like a list of ideas in my head in advance about what it is that I'm going to film. And then I just have to pick and choose which one is going to work for that timeline. Okay. How long have you guys been subscribed for? Curious. Put it in the chat. How long have you been watching my videos for? Okay, let me get this yellow. And I am putting these cake boards underneath, but really we're not going to waste the cake board. Just to hold everything in place. And then we get to do the gluing part. Yay! Two months. Amazing. Thank you for answering, Abigail. I always wonder if people can actually upkeep with watching daily uploads. Like, I just kind of did it because I made up this goal to do it, but I really truly wonder if people can actually keep up with that many uploads. My poor sister, she's like, I really want to watch you every day, but I really just can't keep up. I am going to finish the cake today. I'm not going to finish the cake in this particular live. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish covering it. I'm going to stack it, and then I'm going to create a separate video so I can speed things up for you guys, because it literally you will be here for hours if I just show you in real time. And so I'll speed things up for you guys and show you how to decorate the rest of the cake. Yeah, that No Star Bakery video is very, very popular, and I did not think that one was going to catch on so much. I thought maybe like my frozen cake that was like super big that might have caught on, but no, it's the videos that you always don't think. Totally, I think that's, but it is hard. I thought so. I mean, I really don't look at it as everybody has to watch every day. It's more like so that you have so many videos to choose from, you know, like if you're wondering about pricing, you know, we've got that. If you're wondering about a technique, then we've got that. So it's not like it's like a vlogging channel. I think that's a little bit different. Oh my goodness, this never happens with a 6-inch cake. Sometimes it happens when I'm working on cakes for too long. That was totally my fault. I'm also extremely warm still. Okay, we'll cover this super fast. Okay, thank you. We'll see you later. Have you guys watched that new series on Netflix? Nadia Bakes, I think it's called. Oops. Every time I like just watch little bits and pieces of it, it really inspires me to try some new baking out. She always makes it look so delicious. Stored my packaging. Oh, packaging always just took up so much of my life. So with the packaging, I would store the boxes. I had really big, like, spaces in my closet where I would just have to stack the boxes. It really was not the best. And now, I'm trying to build kind of like wooden slats almost. Not slats, but wooden like holders to kind of hold in all the different box sizes. Because honestly, the floor is just not a good spot. It's amazing. Like here, I have so much storage everywhere in my kitchen, but for some reason, I just hadn't found, like, it took me this long after living in this house to come up with a good spot for these places. All right, my friends, I think I'm actually going to end it off here because I hear my son calling me. So I will end that here. I'm going to show you guys how to stack these really, really easily. I'm going to post the video tomorrow about how to stack these and how to decorate the rest of them. So I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for joining. Have I ever made a cornbread cake? No, I should look that up. All right, guys, I will see you later. So nice to talk to you guys. Bye.